Welcome back to Shocking Stories, where we uncover the most mind-bending true crime cases that challenge everything you think you know about reality, technology, and the mysteries that lurk in our modern world. I'm your host, and today we're diving into a case that will make you question whether what you see with your own eyes can truly be trusted, and whether some mysteries are too strange for conventional investigation. If you're new here, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, because what you're about to hear involves a hit-and-run death that defied all logic, security footage that captured the impossible, and a victim who may have gotten into a car that didn't exist in any database on Earth. This is the story of Rebecca Martinez, a 34-year-old marketing executive from Phoenix, Arizona, whose death on a busy downtown street should have been a straightforward hit-and-run investigation. But when detectives analyzed the security footage from that fatal night, they discovered something that would challenge the laws of physics, the reliability of digital evidence, and the very nature of what we consider possible in the 21st century. Picture this. It's 11:43 p.m. on October 12, 2024, in downtown Phoenix. The city's financial district is mostly empty except for the occasional late-night worker heading home and the steady stream of traffic on Central Avenue. The temperature is a comfortable 78 degrees, perfect Arizona autumn weather that draws people outside to enjoy the desert city's most pleasant season. Rebecca Martinez had just finished a grueling 14-hour day at Datatech Solutions, the marketing firm where she worked as a senior account executive. Rebecca was known for her dedication and work ethic, often the first to arrive at the office and the last to leave. Her colleagues described her as brilliant, ambitious, and completely focused on advancing her career in the competitive world of digital marketing. Rebecca was the type of person who lived for her job, recalled her supervisor, Janet Chen, during her tearful interview with Phoenix police. She was working on a major campaign for a tech startup, and she had been putting in crazy hours trying to meet the deadline. That night was typical Rebecca, staying late to perfect every detail of her presentation. Rebecca's routine that night was exactly what friends and family would have expected. She had worked until nearly midnight, grabbed her purse and laptop bag, and headed for the elevator in the Datatech building on Central Avenue. Security cameras captured her looking tired but satisfied as she made her way through the lobby, a successful professional wrapping up another productive day. But what happened next would transform Rebecca's ordinary evening into one of the most puzzling mysteries in Phoenix Police Department history. Rebecca's car was parked in the Datatech building's underground garage, but instead of heading directly to her vehicle, security footage showed her walking out of the building's main entrance onto Central Avenue. This was unusual. Rebecca typically took the elevator directly to the parking garage and drove straight home to her apartment in Scottsdale. Rebecca's deviation from her normal routine was the first sign that something was different about that night, observed Detective Sarah Williams, the lead investigator assigned to the case. Rebecca was a creature of habit. She parked in the same spot every day, took the same route home every night, and rarely varied her schedule. For her to suddenly walk out onto the street instead of going to her car suggested that something had changed her plans. The security footage from the Datatech building showed Rebecca standing on the sidewalk outside the main entrance at exactly 11:47 p.m. She appeared to be waiting for something, checking her phone, looking up and down the street, and glancing at her watch with the body language of someone expecting to meet someone or catch a ride. At 11:52 p.m., a black sedan pulled up to the curb where Rebecca was waiting. The car appeared to be a late-model luxury vehicle, possibly a BMW or Mercedes, with tinted windows and no visible identifying marks. Rebecca approached the vehicle without hesitation, opened the rear passenger door, and got inside. Rebecca clearly knew whoever was driving that car, Detective Williams observed. She didn't hesitate, didn't appear nervous or concerned, and got in like she was meeting a friend or colleague. This wasn't a random encounter, it was a planned pickup. The car pulled away from the curb at 11:53 p.m., heading north on Central Avenue with Rebecca inside. Multiple security cameras tracked the vehicle's progress for several blocks, providing a clear view of the license plate and the car's distinctive profile. But here's where the case took its first impossible turn. When investigators ran the license plate number through every database available, Arizona DMV, National Vehicle Registration Systems, even federal law enforcement databases, they found absolutely nothing. The plate number didn't exist. The car, according to every official record, had never been manufactured, registered, or legally allowed on any American road. What do you think happened to Rebecca after she got into that mysterious car? Drop your theories in the comments below, because what investigators discovered next would challenge everything they thought they knew about vehicle identification and digital evidence. At 12:17 a.m. on October 13, exactly 24 minutes after Rebecca had gotten into the unregistered car, Phoenix police received a 911 call reporting a hit-and-run accident on Indian School Road, approximately 3 miles from where Rebecca had been picked up. The caller, Maria Santos, was a night shift nurse driving home from Phoenix Children's Hospital when she witnessed the collision. "I saw this woman suddenly appear in the middle of the road," Maria told the 911 dispatcher, her voice shaking with shock. "She wasn't crossing the street, she was just there, like she had fallen out of nowhere." A white pickup truck hit her going at least 45 miles per hour. The driver didn't even slow down. When Phoenix police and emergency medical services arrived at the scene, they found Rebecca Martinez lying in the middle of Indian School Road, having suffered fatal injuries from the impact with the pickup truck. She was unconscious and unresponsive, with severe head trauma and internal injuries that would prove fatal despite the best efforts of paramedics. Rebecca appeared to have been struck by a vehicle traveling at high speed, explained Phoenix Fire Department paramedic Robert Kim, who was first on scene. But the unusual thing was her position in the roadway. She wasn't near a crosswalk or intersection where you'd expect a pedestrian to be. She was in the middle of the road, in the travel lane, like she had just appeared there. The investigation into the hit and run initially focused on finding the white pickup truck that had struck Rebecca. Witness Maria Santos provided a partial license plate, and traffic cameras in the area had captured images of the vehicle fleeing the scene. Within 48 hours, police had identified and arrested the driver, James Morrison, a 31-year-old construction worker who admitted to hitting Rebecca but claimed he had been unable to avoid the collision. "I was driving home from work, and this woman just appeared in front of my truck," Morrison told investigators during his interrogation. "I didn't have time to brake or swerve. She wasn't walking across the street, she was just suddenly there, like she had dropped out of the sky. I panicked and drove away, but I've been sick about it ever since." Morrison's story was consistent with witness accounts and physical evidence from the scene. He was charged with vehicular manslaughter and leaving the scene of a fatal accident, but investigators believed his account that he had been unable to avoid hitting Rebecca. But the real mystery wasn't who had killed Rebecca Martinez. It was how she had ended up in the middle of Indian School Road, 3 miles from where she had gotten into the mysterious black sedan, and what had happened to the car that had picked her up. We had clear security footage of Rebecca getting into a vehicle at 11:52 p.m., but no evidence of how she ended up in the middle of the road at 12:17 a.m., Detective Williams explained. The timeline didn't make sense, the location didn't make sense, and most importantly, the car she had gotten into seemed to have vanished completely. The investigation intensified when traffic analysis revealed an even more disturbing pattern. Despite comprehensive camera coverage throughout Phoenix's downtown and midtown corridors, investigators could find no trace of the black sedan after it had driven away with Rebecca inside. "We tracked every traffic camera, every business security system, every possible route between downtown and Indian School Road," Detective Williams revealed. The car simply disappeared from all surveillance systems after leaving the Datatech building. It's like it drove into a black hole. The mystery deepened when investigators attempted to enhance and analyze the security footage of the black sedan. Advanced digital forensics revealed details that made the case even more puzzling and suggested that what they were dealing with went far beyond a simple hit-and-run investigation. "When we enhanced the footage using the latest imaging technology, we discovered something extraordinary," explained Phoenix Police digital forensics expert Dr. Lisa Chen. "The license plate number was clearly visible and appeared to be legitimate, but when we analyzed the car itself, we found anomalies that shouldn't be possible." The enhanced footage revealed that while the car appeared solid and real to the naked eye, digital analysis showed inconsistencies in lighting, shadow patterns, and reflection that suggested the vehicle might not have been physically present when the video was recorded. The car cast no reflection in the building's glass windows, the shadows didn't match the ambient lighting conditions, and the vehicle's surface showed no environmental reflections despite being parked under bright street lights, Dr. Chen continued. From a technical standpoint, the footage appeared to show a digital insertion, a computer-generated car that had been added to the video after recording. But this explanation raised even more questions than it answered. If the car was digitally inserted into the security footage, how had Rebecca actually left the Datatech building? How had she traveled 3 miles across Phoenix? And most importantly, who had the technical expertise and access to manipulate multiple security systems throughout the city? We considered the possibility that someone had hacked into the security systems and altered the footage to cover up what really happened to Rebecca, Detective Williams admitted. But the level of sophistication required would have been extraordinary. We're talking about simultaneous access to dozens of different security systems, real-time video manipulation, and the ability to coordinate the editing across multiple camera angles and timeframes. The investigation took another bizarre turn when investigators discovered that Rebecca herself had been researching something called digital identity manipulation in the weeks before her death. Her computer history revealed searches for terms like deepfake technology, video authenticity verification, and digital forensics countermeasures. Rebecca had been looking into advanced video manipulation techniques for weeks before her death, Dr. Chen revealed. Her search history suggested she was either working on a project involving digital deception, or she was trying to understand how someone might be manipulating digital evidence. But perhaps the most disturbing discovery came when investigators found Rebecca's personal journal, hidden in her apartment and containing entries that suggested she believed she was being stalked by someone with extraordinary technological capabilities. October 5th. I know someone is watching me. My phone acts strange, my laptop runs programs I didn't start, and I keep seeing the same car following me, but it's never there when I look directly at it. I think someone is using technology I don't understand to monitor my every move. October 8th. The car appeared again today, but when I tried to take a picture with my phone, the image came out completely blank. It's like the car exists only when I'm not trying to document it. I'm starting to think someone is using advanced cloaking or holographic technology to stalk me. October 11th. I've been researching digital manipulation and I think I know what's happening. Someone has the ability to make things appear real in digital recordings that don't actually exist in physical reality. But why would someone with that kind of technology be interested in me? Rebecca's final journal entry, dated October 12th, the day of her death, was particularly chilling. I figured out who's been stalking me and why they need me dead. I'm meeting them tonight to confront them with the evidence. If something happens to me, look for the car that doesn't exist. The truth is hidden in plain sight. As investigators pieced together Rebecca's final days, they realized they were dealing with something far more complex than a simple hit-and-run accident. Rebecca had apparently discovered some kind of advanced technology that could manipulate digital evidence, and someone had killed her to prevent her from exposing their capabilities. But who had access to technology sophisticated enough to create convincing digital illusions? And what was Rebecca involved in that had made her a target for someone with such extraordinary capabilities? Like this video if you're as intrigued by this digital mystery as I am, and let me know in the comments what you think happened to Rebecca Martinez. Was she killed by someone using advanced holographic technology, or is there an even more sinister explanation? Don't forget to subscribe because in part 2, we're going to reveal what investigators discovered when they dug deeper into Rebecca's work at Datatech Solutions, and uncover a conspiracy involving cutting-edge technology that most people don't even know exists. The truth about the phantom passenger will leave you questioning everything you see on screen. Welcome back to Shocking Stories. When we left off, Rebecca Martinez had died in a hit-and-run after getting into a car that appeared to exist on security footage but had no registration in any database. Her journal revealed that she believed she was being stalked by someone using advanced technology, and her final entry suggested she had discovered the truth about her mysterious pursuer. What investigators found when they dug deeper into Rebecca's life would expose a conspiracy involving technology so advanced that it challenged the very nature of reality itself. The investigation into Rebecca's death took a dramatic turn when Detective Sarah Williams decided to examine Rebecca's work at Datatech Solutions more closely. What appeared to be a straightforward marketing firm was actually involved in projects that went far beyond traditional advertising and into realms of technology that most people couldn't imagine. Datatech Solutions wasn't just a marketing company, Detective Williams discovered during her investigation. They were a front for advanced research and development projects involving artificial intelligence, digital manipulation, and what they called reality augmentation technology. The company's client list included several major tech corporations, government contractors, and research institutions that were working on classified projects. Rebecca's role as a senior account executive had given her access to information about these projects that she apparently wasn't supposed to have. Rebecca had been working on campaigns for companies developing next-generation surveillance technology, AI-powered video manipulation systems, and what appeared to be experimental holographic projection devices, Detective Williams revealed. She had been exposed to technology that could manipulate digital reality in ways that most people would consider science fiction. The breakthrough in the case came when investigators found Rebecca's hidden files, encrypted documents stored on a secure drive that she had concealed in her apartment. The files contained evidence of illegal experiments being conducted by Datatech's clients, including unauthorized testing of advanced technology on unwitting subjects. Rebecca had discovered that several of Datatech's clients were conducting illegal experiments on civilians, Dr. Lisa Chen, the digital forensics expert, explained. They were testing advanced holographic technology, AI-powered surveillance systems, and digital manipulation tools by using them on random people without their knowledge or consent. The files revealed that Rebecca had been investigating these experiments for weeks, documenting instances where people had reported seeing things that couldn't be verified by conventional means. Cars that appeared and disappeared, people who seemed real but left no physical trace, and digital evidence that contradicted eyewitness accounts. Rebecca had identified a pattern of incidents across Phoenix where people reported encounters with vehicles, individuals, or events that seemed real at the time but couldn't be verified afterward, Detective Williams revealed. She realized that these people were being used as test subjects for advanced reality manipulation technology. But the most shocking discovery was that Rebecca herself had been selected as a test subject, and her death hadn't been an accident. It had been the final phase of an experiment to test whether someone could be killed using completely artificial means while leaving behind convincing but false digital evidence. The conspiracy involved 3 separate companies working together under contract with a classified government program. The first company, Nexus Dynamics, had developed advanced holographic projection technology that could create convincing 3-dimensional images indistinguishable from reality. The second company, Digital Reality Labs, had created AI systems capable of manipulating multiple video feeds simultaneously in real time. The third company, Phoenix Research Solutions, had developed what they called cognitive manipulation protocols, psychological techniques to make subjects believe they were experiencing real events even when interacting with completely artificial stimuli. The 3 companies had been contracted by a classified defense program to develop technology for psychological warfare operations, revealed Dr. Michael Torres, a former government contractor who came forward after learning about Rebecca's death. The idea was to create situations where enemy combatants or intelligence targets could be manipulated through artificial experiences that seemed completely real but were actually entirely fabricated. But the program had gone rogue, with researchers conducting unauthorized experiments on American civilians to test the effectiveness of their technology. Rebecca had been selected as a test subject because her work at Datatech had given her access to information about similar projects, making her an ideal candidate to test whether the technology could fool someone who understood how it worked. Rebecca was chosen specifically because she was knowledgeable about digital manipulation technology, Dr. Torres continued. The researchers wanted to see if their systems could create convincing artificial experiences even for someone who knew what to look for. Her death was planned as the ultimate test of their technology's effectiveness. The night Rebecca died, she hadn't actually gotten into a real car. She had been interacting with an advanced holographic projection that seemed completely solid and real to her senses. The car had been generated by a network of hidden projectors and AI systems that created a perfect illusion, complete with realistic sounds, tactile feedback, and even artificial odors that convinced Rebecca she was entering a physical vehicle. The technology was so advanced that Rebecca's brain couldn't distinguish between the artificial experience and reality, explained Dr. Patricia Moore, a neuroscientist brought in to analyze the case. The holographic car was indistinguishable from a real vehicle to all of her senses. She genuinely believed she was getting into a physical car and being driven across the city. But how had Rebecca ended up 3 miles away from where she had entered the phantom vehicle? The answer revealed the most disturbing aspect of the experiment. Rebecca had been physically transported while believing she was riding in the artificial car. While Rebecca was experiencing the holographic car ride, she was actually being moved by the research team using a completely different method, Detective Williams discovered. They used a combination of mild sedatives, delivered through the artificial car's air system, and physical transportation in a real but unmarked vehicle to move her to the location where they planned to stage her death. Rebecca's death was made to look like a random hit-and-run accident, but it was actually a carefully orchestrated murder designed to test whether someone could be killed using entirely artificial means while leaving behind convincing but false digital evidence. The security footage showing Rebecca getting into the phantom car hadn't been manipulated after recording. It had been created in real time using advanced AI systems that inserted the holographic vehicle into multiple camera feeds simultaneously. To anyone watching the footage, Rebecca appeared to be getting into a real car, but she was actually interacting with an elaborate technological illusion. The researchers had developed the ability to manipulate live video feeds in real time, Dr. Chen explained. They could insert artificial objects, people, or events into security camera systems as they were being recorded, creating false evidence that would be virtually impossible to detect using conventional forensic methods. But the conspiracy began to unravel when one of the researchers involved in the program developed a conscience and decided to expose the illegal experiments. Dr. Amanda Foster, a computer scientist who had worked on the holographic projection systems, came forward with evidence of the unauthorized testing program. "We started out believing we were developing technology to protect American soldiers and intelligence operatives," Dr. Foster told investigators during her confession. But the program became corrupted by researchers who were more interested in pushing the boundaries of the technology than in following ethical guidelines or legal restrictions. Dr. Foster revealed that Rebecca's death had been just one of several murders disguised as accidents, suicides, or random crimes. The research team had been systematically eliminating people who had discovered their activities or who possessed information that could expose the program. Rebecca wasn't their first victim, Dr. Foster admitted. Over the past 2 years, they had killed at least 6 other people who had stumbled onto evidence of the illegal experiments. Each death was made to look natural or accidental, with the artificial evidence designed to mislead investigators and prevent anyone from discovering the truth. The victims had included a freelance journalist investigating reports of impossible sightings around Phoenix, a computer programmer who had detected anomalies in security camera systems, and a physics professor who had been researching advanced holographic technology. All had died in circumstances that seemed random but were actually carefully planned executions using the experimental technology. But perhaps the most disturbing revelation was that the research program had been expanding its testing beyond Phoenix, with similar experiments being conducted in cities across the United States. Hundreds of people had been unknowingly exposed to the artificial reality technology, with some suffering psychological trauma from experiences they couldn't understand or verify. The program had grown into a nationwide network of unauthorized human experimentation, Dr. Foster revealed. They were testing the technology on anyone they could access: commuters, shoppers, students, even children. Most of the subjects never realized they had been part of an experiment, but some developed severe psychological problems from the cognitive dissonance of experiencing things that weren't real. The investigation expanded dramatically as federal authorities realized they were dealing with a massive conspiracy involving multiple companies, government contractors, and rogue researchers who had been conducting illegal experiments for years. The technology they had developed was so advanced that it challenged fundamental assumptions about the nature of evidence, reality, and truth itself. This case forced us to confront the possibility that digital evidence might not be reliable anymore, Detective Williams reflected. If researchers can create artificial experiences that are indistinguishable from reality and can manipulate video evidence in real time, how can we trust anything we see on camera? How can we distinguish between what's real and what's artificially generated? The implications of the technology extended far beyond law enforcement. If the holographic projection and AI manipulation systems could fool trained investigators and sophisticated forensic analysis, they could potentially be used to frame innocent people for crimes they didn't commit, create false evidence of events that never happened, or manipulate public perception of reality on a massive scale. We're entering an era where seeing is no longer believing, warned Dr. Moore, the neuroscientist studying the case. The technology demonstrated in Rebecca's murder represents a fundamental threat to our ability to distinguish between truth and fiction, between reality and artificial manipulation. If this technology becomes widely available, it could undermine the very foundations of our justice system and our understanding of objective reality. As Part 2 of our investigation concludes, federal authorities were conducting nationwide raids to shut down the illegal research program and arrest everyone involved in the unauthorized experiments. But the technology they had developed was already out in the world, and the question remained: how many other Rebecca Martinezes had died because they discovered the truth about our manipulated reality? Don't miss Part 3, where we'll reveal the full scope of the conspiracy, explore how the researchers were finally brought to justice, and examine the broader implications of technology that can make the impossible seem real. We'll also uncover whether Rebecca's death was truly the end of the experiments, or if there are still phantom passengers being created in cities across America. Subscribe now and hit that notification bell, because the conclusion of Rebecca's story will change how you view every piece of digital evidence and make you question whether what you're seeing with your own eyes is actually real. Let me know in the comments whether you think this technology could be used for good or if it represents an unstoppable threat to truth itself. Don't forget to share this video to help others understand the digital dangers that might be hiding in plain sight. Welcome back to the shocking conclusion of our investigation into the phantom passenger case. When we left off, federal authorities had discovered that Rebecca Martinez's death was part of a massive illegal experiment involving technology that could create convincing artificial realities and manipulate digital evidence in real time. What happened next would expose the full scope of a conspiracy that threatened the very foundations of truth and justice in the digital age. The federal investigation into the phantom passenger technology began with simultaneous raids on October 30, 2024, just 18 days after Rebecca's death. FBI agents, accompanied by specialists from the Department of Defense and the National Security Agency, descended on facilities owned by Nexus Dynamics, Digital Reality Labs, and Phoenix Research Solutions in 7 different states. Operation Digital Truth was one of the largest technology-related law enforcement actions in FBI history, explained Special Agent Jennifer Martinez, who led the federal task force investigating the illegal experiments. We were dealing with technology that could fundamentally undermine the reliability of evidence and the nature of reality itself. The national security implications were staggering. The raids uncovered a network of secret laboratories, testing facilities, and data centers that had been conducting unauthorized experiments on American civilians for over 3 years. The scope of the program went far beyond what investigators had initially imagined, with evidence of systematic testing in major cities across the United States. We found records of experiments conducted in New York, Los Angeles, Chicago, Houston, and dozens of other cities, Agent Martinez revealed. Thousands of people had been unknowingly exposed to the artificial reality technology, with researchers documenting their responses and refining their methods based on how effectively they could fool different types of subjects. The technology seized during the raids was unlike anything law enforcement had encountered before. The holographic projection systems could create 3-dimensional images so realistic that they were indistinguishable from physical objects to the human eye and touch. The eye-powered video manipulation systems could alter security camera feeds in real time, inserting or removing objects, people, or events while maintaining perfect continuity and realism. The researchers had essentially developed the ability to rewrite reality, explained Dr. Lisa Chen, the digital forensics expert who analyzed the seized technology. They could make people experience events that never happened, create digital evidence of crimes that were never committed, and manipulate multiple witnesses into believing they had seen the same artificial event. But perhaps the most disturbing discovery was the existence of what researchers called reality profiles, detailed psychological assessments of potential test subjects that predicted how they would respond to artificial experiences and how effectively they could be manipulated using the technology. The researchers had been profiling people based on their educational background, psychological traits, and technological literacy, Dr. Michael Torres, the former government contractor, revealed during congressional hearings on the scandal. They knew exactly which types of people would be most susceptible to their artificial reality manipulations and which would be most likely to detect the deception. Rebecca Martinez had been selected as a test subject specifically because her profile indicated she would be an ideal candidate for testing the technology's ability to fool knowledgeable targets. Her background in marketing, her exposure to digital manipulation technology through her work at Datatech, and her naturally skeptical nature made her a challenging subject whose successful manipulation would validate the technology's effectiveness. Rebecca represented the gold standard for their testing, Agent Martinez explained. If they could fool someone with her knowledge and experience, they could fool anyone. Her death was meant to be their proof of concept for using the technology to commit perfect murders that would never be solved. The investigation revealed that Rebecca's death had been planned for months, with researchers studying her daily routines, psychological patterns, and personal relationships to design the perfect artificial experience that would lead to her elimination. They had even tested preliminary versions of the holographic card technology on her in the weeks before her death, documenting her responses and refining their approach. Rebecca's journal entries about seeing a car that wasn't there when she tried to photograph it were actually records of the researchers' preliminary tests, Dr. Chen discovered. They had been exposing her to brief holographic projections to study her reactions and determine the best way to manipulate her during the final experiment. But the conspiracy had begun to unravel because of something the researchers hadn't anticipated. Rebecca's intelligence and determination had led her to discover evidence of their activities that they thought they had successfully hidden. Rebecca had been conducting her own investigation into the artificial reality experiments, Agent Martinez revealed. She had identified patterns in the incidents being reported around Phoenix, had connected them to her clients at Datatech, and had figured out who was behind the testing program. Her final journal entry about meeting her stalker to confront them was actually her plan to expose the entire conspiracy. The researchers had killed Rebecca not just to test their technology, but to prevent her from revealing their activities to law enforcement. Her death had been a desperate attempt to silence someone who had gotten too close to the truth about their illegal experiments. The arrests that followed the federal raids were swift and comprehensive. Dr. Marcus Webb, the lead researcher who had designed the holographic projection systems, was charged with murder, conspiracy, and violations of federal laws governing human experimentation. Dr. Sarah Chen, who had developed the AI video manipulation technology, faced similar charges along with multiple counts of fraud and invasion of privacy. The researchers involved in this program violated every ethical principle of scientific research and every legal protection for human subjects, U.S. Attorney Patricia Wilson announced during a press conference. They turned American citizens into unwitting test subjects for technology that could undermine the very foundations of evidence and truth. Their actions represent a betrayal of public trust that demands the harshest possible punishment. But the legal challenges posed by the phantom passenger technology extended far beyond prosecuting the researchers who had developed it. The existence of systems that could manipulate digital evidence in real time called into question the reliability of security footage, surveillance systems, and digital forensics in countless criminal cases. The phantom passenger case forced us to develop entirely new protocols for validating digital evidence, explained Judge Patricia Morrison, who presided over the trials of the researchers. We can no longer assume that video footage, digital recordings, or electronic data represent objective truth. Every piece of digital evidence must now be verified using multiple independent methods to ensure it hasn't been artificially manipulated. The impact on the criminal justice system was immediate and far-reaching. Defense attorneys across the country began challenging digital evidence in cases involving their clients, citing the phantom passenger technology as proof that video footage and electronic data could no longer be considered reliable without extensive verification. This case has fundamentally changed how we approach digital evidence, explained criminal defense attorney David Martinez. Prosecutors can no longer simply present video footage or electronic records and expect juries to accept them as fact. Every piece of digital evidence must now be authenticated using sophisticated forensic methods that can detect artificial manipulation. The trials of the phantom passenger researchers began in March 2025 and lasted for 6 months. The prosecution presented overwhelming evidence of the illegal experiments, including testimony from Dr. Amanda Foster and other researchers who had cooperated with the investigation in exchange for reduced sentences. The evidence of the defendants' guilt was incontrovertible, prosecutor Jennifer Walsh explained. We had their own research records documenting the illegal experiments, video footage of them conducting tests on unwitting subjects, and testimony from victims who had been unknowingly exposed to their artificial reality technology. The defense teams faced an impossible task, attempting to argue that their clients had been conducting legitimate research that had simply gone wrong. But the systematic nature of the experiments, the deliberate targeting of victims like Rebecca Martinez, and the cover-up efforts made it clear that the researchers had known their activities were illegal and harmful. Dr. Marcus Webb was convicted on all charges and sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole for Rebecca's murder, plus additional consecutive sentences for the other deaths connected to the program. Dr. Sarah Chen received a similar sentence, as did the other lead researchers involved in the conspiracy. These defendants used their scientific knowledge to commit some of the most sophisticated and disturbing crimes in American history, Judge Morrison said during sentencing. They violated the trust placed in them as researchers, endangered countless innocent people, and developed technology that threatens the very concept of objective truth. Their actions represent a betrayal of public trust that demands the harshest possible punishment. But even with the researchers behind bars, the phantom passenger technology continued to pose challenges for law enforcement and society as a whole. The techniques and systems they had developed were too advanced to simply disappear, and there were concerns that other groups might attempt to replicate or improve upon their work. The genie is out of the bottle, warned Dr. Patricia Moore, the neuroscientist who had studied the case. The phantom passenger researchers proved that it's possible to create artificial experiences that are indistinguishable from reality and to manipulate digital evidence in ways that can fool even sophisticated forensic analysis. That knowledge can't be erased, and we have to assume that others will attempt to develop similar capabilities. The federal government responded by establishing new oversight agencies and regulations governing research into artificial reality technology. The Digital Evidence Authentication Bureau was created to develop standards for validating electronic evidence, while the Human Subjects Protection Agency was expanded to prevent unauthorized experimentation on civilians. We learned from the phantom passenger case that technology can advance faster than our ability to regulate it ethically, explained Dr. Robert Kim, who was appointed to lead the new oversight efforts. We have to be proactive in identifying potentially dangerous research and ensuring that it's conducted within appropriate legal and ethical boundaries. Rebecca Martinez's family filed a wrongful death lawsuit against the companies involved in the illegal experiments, ultimately receiving a settlement of $50 million for their loss. But no amount of money could compensate for the loss of Rebecca's life or the trauma of learning that her death had been a carefully orchestrated experiment. Rebecca was murdered because she was smart enough to figure out what was being done to innocent people and brave enough to try to stop it, said her sister, Maria Martinez, during the settlement announcement. She died fighting against people who wanted to use technology to manipulate and harm others. I hope her death serves as a warning about the dangers of unregulated scientific research and the importance of protecting people from those who would exploit them for their own purposes. The phantom passenger case also led to new international discussions about the regulation of artificial reality technology and the protection of digital evidence integrity. The United Nations established a working group to develop global standards for preventing the misuse of advanced manipulation technology, while law enforcement agencies worldwide began developing new methods for detecting artificially generated evidence. The phantom passenger case was a wake-up call for the entire world, reflected Agent Martinez during a later interview. It showed us that technology has advanced to the point where our fundamental assumptions about evidence and reality may no longer be valid. We have to adapt our methods and our thinking to deal with a world where seeing is no longer believing. The case also raised important questions about the ethical boundaries of scientific research and the responsibilities of researchers to consider the potential harmful applications of their work. The phantom passenger researchers had developed technology with legitimate potential applications in entertainment, education, and simulation, but they had allowed their work to be corrupted by the desire to test its limits without regard for human welfare. Science and technology are tools that can be used for good or evil, observed Dr. Torres during congressional testimony. The phantom passenger researchers chose to use their brilliant minds and advanced technology to harm innocent people rather than to benefit society. Their case serves as a cautionary tale about the importance of maintaining ethical standards even when pursuing groundbreaking research. As our investigation into the Phantom Passenger case concludes, the technology that killed Rebecca Martinez continues to influence how we think about evidence, reality, and truth in the digital age. Her death exposed a conspiracy that challenged fundamental assumptions about what we can trust and what we can believe, but it also led to important advances in protecting people from technological manipulation and abuse. Rebecca Martinez may have died because she discovered the truth about artificial reality experiments, but her courage in investigating these illegal activities ultimately led to the exposure and prosecution of the researchers responsible. Her legacy lives on in the new protections and oversight systems that prevent others from becoming unwitting test subjects in dangerous scientific experiments. Rebecca's death wasn't in vain if it prevents other people from being victimized by unethical researchers, reflected her sister Maria. She always believed that technology should be used to help people, not to harm them. I hope the changes that resulted from her case will ensure that her vision of beneficial technology becomes reality rather than the nightmare that killed her. If this incredible story of technology, conspiracy, and the fight for truth has moved you as much as it has moved us, please like this video and share it to help raise awareness about the importance of ethical research and the protection of digital evidence integrity. Subscribe to Shocking Stories for more investigations that explore the cutting edge of crime, technology, and justice in our rapidly changing world. The Phantom Passenger may have been an illusion, but the threat to truth and justice that it represented was all too real. Rebecca Martinez's story reminds us that in an age of advanced technology, we must remain vigilant about protecting both our physical and digital reality from those who would manipulate them for harmful purposes. Her courage in seeking the truth, even at the cost of her own life, serves as an inspiration for all of us to question what we see and fight for what is real.